I didn't get one.
Okay, corrected certificate with
She's
your
a big
name
deal.
spelled nice.
I didn't get one.
Oh, bless her.
Oh, wow.
It's a League of Women. They
Welcome
gave it-
everyone
they
to
gave
our
it out to women. They were so
board
proud of us.
study session tonight. We appreciate everyone's attendance here tonight, and we'd like to excuse board member Kelly Larson, who is out of town with her family today. A few things of board business. Now, I remind you of the tour this Friday of the new schools. I think everybody has the information on that. 1 o'clock, we'll start at the junior high and then just go from there. And,
1 o'clock at the junior high.
yeah, and
Okay.
superintendent wanted to make sure everyone wore comfortable shoes. Functional, not stylish, I believe. So, and then if you'll look in your packets, there is the high school graduation schedule and the assignments for who is speaking at those and taking care of the acceptance of the classes. And Janice, would you like to take a minute and review some joint legislative minutes with us, please?
Thank you so much, and Superintendent, jump in. According to you, she and I were at this meeting. It was on April 17th, and to me, it's very indicative and very wise that the USBA, the superintendents are all getting onto this earlier, realizing that the legislative session goes all year long. And you can't wait till just before in order to formulate your priorities. Some things that came across were the fact that in reviewing the 2024 priorities, we talked about the idea of push and pause, giving LEAs time to implement new bills before starting with other new bills, so that you get it in process and you get control of it before something else comes our way. Also, another thing for the 2025 planning, there was much discussion of making the priority document much easier for the legislators to understand, to have it a simplified version. They need to know exactly what's important to us and to hear that. There was a discussion of a burden of unfunded mandates and administrative costs. And their emphasis was the legislators are adding to the administrative cost of implementing bills. And so that was a discussion. Also, something so specific as how many priorities should we focus on? Should it be 3? Should it be 5? This was a discussion with the group. Let me see other things. It was a very work meeting with a lot of input from the different districts and superintendents, and consequently I felt like it was very representative of what the body is concerned about and what the body wants to deal with. We came up with suggested priorities, supporting the needs of all students, the Tier 2 retirement, more money above growth in inflation, which is to be expected, the education framework that will work to fund public education, discussion of the economic stabilization account, school fees, transportation, safety, teacher retention, NES and ESS, and quality construction and programs. You can tell it was very comprehensive and inclusive, and I thought it was very exciting that they've scheduled the next meeting for May 7th. So that was given to us to kind of digest and prioritize and see what kind of input we could have on the 7th. What do you think, Superintendent?
You nailed it. You hit every highlight.
Okay.
Enough said. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's always wonderful to be at those meetings with her. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Janice, thank you for that report, and thanks for all of the time that you put in on that JLC. That's a big bite for you to take on, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Superintendent, please.
All right, my part tonight is quite short, but celebratory. Board, in a little over a month, we're gonna bring to you a beautiful document. It's not as beautiful as the Constitution, but it is beautiful, and it is called the Weber School District Strategic Plan that we've been working on for over a year and a half. We will have a working copy for you. I'm going to deliver to each of you a physical copy of that around May 20th, and would ask that you do some review and introspection and writing down some questions and concerns. And then on our June 12th agenda, we will do a short presentation around the strategic plan. But we are very excited about how it's coming together. We've had so many different stakeholders involved. I've got to give a shout out publicly to Sherry Hyder and her administrative assistant Trista Keller. They are compiling all of the information and have done just a fabulous job. The document itself is very easy to read and makes a lot of sense, and I think our employees will find it to be a very worthwhile endeavor that we've undertaken on their behalf, and our kids as well, parents as well. So I'm excited to do that presentation in June and get you that document soon for your review.
And that's it.
That's it.
Wow, thank you. And that has to be in the 1st of July?
The legislative auditors are asking for a report, an update on May 9th, and so I will be sharing some aspects of the draft with them on May 9th, but we have to have it approved by June's meeting. Yep, June 12th.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Let's have some department updates. Finance and purchasing, Dr. Peterson, please.
Okay, so I've been asked to kind of review what's going to happen in an open board meeting. Once again, we're going to go through the procedural I'm trying to think of the word. Gyration sounds pejorative.
Gyration?
But it's the procedural maneuverings, because tonight we're going to adjourn. Item number 7 of the agenda, adjourn as a Weber District Board of Education. And then we will convene as a Board of Trustees of the local building authority of Weber School District. And we'll do a couple of action items there. We'll approve the minutes. Then we'll have a public hearing that's required by law to receive input, because we determined to raise up to, the key phrase is up to $60 million in lease revenue bonds. And we're supposed to have by law a hearing for the potential economic impact that the community could voice. We don't anticipate anyone maybe from speaking, because our project, which is Roosevelt Elementary, does not have an adverse economic impact on businesses and things, And so that should go smoothly. And then SB 86 was passed in the last session, and we have to then set a hearing. They have to be 2 separate hearings. We have to set a hearing, and which we'll hold on June 12th at our board meeting there, and that's where we'll inform the public how we're going to spend the $60 million that we intend to get.
Up to
$60 million. And once again, the public is well aware it's Roosevelt Elementary. And so that hearing should go well on the 12th, but we have to set that. That's an action item. Then after that, we adjourn out of the local building authority and put on back to the Weber School District Board. We have the motions and the seconds and everything like that in Paul's hands, so he knows what to do, because it's something we've never really done before.
Yeah, we're bouncing all over the place.
And Ryan Bierke and Matt Dugdale will be here tonight, and Ryan can help us if we get stuck, but because he's our attorney on this. But the fact of the matter is, he's already helped us. He's the one who drafted the step-by-step what to do. So we should be good, and it should go relatively quick.
But I put this at an angle so that.
That's all I have.
Thank you. And the minutes that we will be approving are the minutes from the 7th of February meeting
Yes.
that we had.
Correct.
Wonderful, thank you.
He's an important guy.
Curriculum, Heather Nielsen, please.
Jan didn't sign it.
Flip it on, flip it on.
Oh, flip it up.
Pam,
Turn it on.
Pam. Pam,
Come out now.
Pam.
Okay.
Pam.
Superintendent Butters, President Widdowson, and Board, I'm excited to talk a little bit about our K-5 adoption. I'll have a full presentation in a regular board meeting, but just wanted to highlight a few things on the memo that I sent to you. So on January 22nd, we had to issue an RFP for an ELA core curriculum for elementary school. And this was in response to Senate Bill 127. And Senate Bill 127, its focus is on improving reading outcomes for K through 3 students. And it requires USBE to provide statewide support, but it also requires LEAs to have, and I'm going to read it so I quote it correctly, a school district or charter school shall provide instructional materials that are evidence-informed for core instruction and evidence-based for intervention and supplemental instruction. So our current program Journeys does not meet those requirements, and so we needed to issue an RFP to be in compliance. So we did issue that RFP, and we had 4 companies respond to that RFP. We went ahead and established an instructional materials review committee as outlined in policy 8800. We had 27 K through 5 teachers, and we ensured that we had representation from every school within the district, every elementary school. We had 2 representatives from student advocacy, 2 instructional coaches, 2 administrators, and 4 parents served on that committee. Additionally, we had myself, the elementary ELA curriculum specialist, Christy Wagner, and we had the director of technical services, the assistant superintendent, Dave Hells, and then we were lucky enough to have Jan Burrell serve on that committee from the board. During the first phase of the adoption process, we ended up having the district review committee to make sure that all of the companies that submitted for the RFP met the minimum requirements. At that point, we did have to remove one company because they only offered curriculum for K through 2, and we outlined in the RFP that we needed to have a K through 5 offering, and so we went ahead and took that company out of the running. The remaining 4 vendors were HMH, Into Reading, Amplify, CKLA, and McGraw-Hill Wonders. They all went to stage 2. On Tuesday, March 5th, we had formal presentation from vendors, and then they were also able to read the information that was sent from the vendors in a technical proposal. We had those next steps given to that committee at that time. We went over the evaluation rubric that was put together based on recommendations from Senate Bill 127 and the rubric that was provided by USBE. Then they were asked to pilot these materials in their classroom, and I have to give a quick shout out to Jan because she was out visiting classrooms and talking to teachers and letting them know what an important part that they played in this process, so we appreciate that, Jan. We pulled 2 public open houses on March 20th and April 17th. In addition to the open houses, we had the curriculum available on display in the conference room in the curriculum department, as well as we had an online preview set up on our website so that we could ensure stakeholder input for those who wanted to provide feedback, and that was done via Google form. And then that information was shared with that committee. On April 17th, we had a discussion with the Instructional Materials Review Committee where they were able to speak to the strengths and weaknesses of each program, and they were also able to provide a recommendation for what they feel we should adopt. Those rubrics were due for every program by 4:00 p.m. on Friday, April 19th. We did a cost evaluation, and we then looked at the total points. So Wonders led with 4,086 points, followed closely by Amplify, and they had 3,803 points, and then Into Reading came in 3rd place with 3,614 points. The cost evaluation, CKLA was $5,194,382.72. Wonders came in at $3,344,15, and then finally Into Reading was $2,854,476.51. Wonders was the only company that provided professional development in their cost. Every other company, the PD, would be
Jan hasn't
additional
signed it. Jan
funding for
Varela
us to
hasn't
cover.
signed it.
So I'm happy to
Down
answer
here,
any
she
questions
said.
that you may have.
She signed below.
They wanted to
the
make sure they got their 15 cents, it sounds like.
Don't you find that interesting? Every one of them, we have some change on every one of them. You think 5 million should cover it, right?
Just throw whatever you want out there, that'll work. She
That's
signed
right,
below the
that's
line.
right.
What's that?
Thank you.
That song from Sesame Street, one of these kids.
Heather Hardy, please.
Isn't that like the other one of these
Hi,
kids is
Superintendent
in the-
Butters, President Widdowson and Board. I'm stepping in for Heidi Alder tonight. We only have 6 policies tonight. I'll be quick on these if I can. I'm just gonna follow the outline for the board study session. For the board agenda, the policies are in a little bit different order on the first 2. So we have three policies on a second reading. The first one on the second reading is 4370. It's our graduation requirements. This policy was last revised in June of 2023. We did make some updates to this policy to comply with the Utah State Board of Education graduation requirements. The largest change to this policy is on page 8 and 9, where we added a new section that talks about our credit evaluation committee, which this is new. And this committee will decide how credits will be awarded at institutions not following under the direction and supervision of Weber School District. We have had no feedback on this policy since the first read. Any questions on that one? The next one we have on a second reading is our home and hospital policy 4175. This is a new policy. We did not have a home and hospital policy in place before. We have put one in place now. There is one last minute change that I did make to this policy. It was some information that came in from our home and hospital teachers. We added a definition to what a home and hospital instructor is. Just means a teacher holding a valid teaching license. And then also added that WSD home and hospital students are still enrolled in Weber School District and are expected to adhere to Weber School District policies. There was a couple of concerns the home and hospital teachers had regarding dress code and just following the same rules, so I felt that was appropriate to add that to the policy. And I also added home and hospital instructors are not expected to tutor students for makeup work from previous absences. So a lot of times they have what is outlined when they walk in the door to meet those students, and the students are asking them to go backwards on some assignments that they missed, and their job is to work on the current assignments and move forward. And there's been no additional feedback other than those 2 small changes, and so that will be on the second read tonight. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next, we have our media and public relations policy on the second read. This is coming from our community relations department. This addresses the media inquiries and third-party requests to film, photograph, and interview students. We have no changes since the first reading on this policy. All the media requests must be approved through the Community Relations Office. And that will be the 3 for second reading. On the first read tonight, we have our student electronic device policy. This is our student cell phone policy. This policy has gone through several committees. Our administrative teams have been providing input on that. We had a discussion with the elementary team and a secondary team. Some of our administrators sent this out to their teachers, and so there was a lot of feedback on that. We went through our policy committee and made a few changes based on everyone's feedback. And what this policy talks about is that students are expected to keep their privately owned devices on silent mode and out of sight during times of prohibited use. So they can bring their cell phones, their watches, their AirPods to school, but they need to be out of sight and silent during prohibited use. There's a couple of differences between elementary and secondary. For elementary, their devices should be in their backpacks or out of sight during school hours. And for secondary, they are permitted to use their cell phones during class times and in between classes and at lunch and before and after school. So there are a couple of different situations in the policy, elementary versus secondary. So that was changed. There is, students are not allowed to film and record where there's an expectation of privacy. So we don't want anyone filming others without permission. Headphones, earbuds, AirPods are not allowed to be in students' ears during the times of prohibited use. That was strongly recommended by our secondary administrators and teachers. And as far as the violations go, they'll start with warnings in the classroom and move to parent contact on the 4th warning. After that, if there's repeated violations, it would be up for further disciplinary action. Of course, if there is anything serious violations that regarded bullying or disseminating inappropriate material, then there would be possibility for suspension. We would follow policy 5200, our discipline policy for that. Well, that's kind of a lot.
Can I just speak to the consistency of this? There is so much request for this among our administrators to have a consistent policy. So this has been a long time coming, and I think it will be well received as far as the consistency across our whole district. So thank you very much for the hard work on this.
There is one other thing I'd like to add. Board Member Larson did notice that there's another district that's taking their cell phone policy to their board, and she wanted to know that maybe we should consider adding a section that students shall be allowed to use electronic devices in the event of an emergency to promote safety and security, like contacting first responders, parents, or guardians in the event of personal safety concern or medical need. So we will take that into consideration, and I will meet with the directors of secondary and elementary on that.
Heather, one other thought. What about teachers?
Teachers, this is just for students. So our teachers do not have a specific cell phone policy, but they have their code of conduct 7120 that talks about texting students through personal applications, and it's not approved to do that. So that is something that we need to work on.
It's not necessarily the texting that's concerned me, but if we're going to put a policy out there, we ought to practice our own policy during the classroom where we're asking kids not to do that. We ought to suggest, the suggestion is that they don't do the same thing, because it's, okay, they can do it, why can't we do it? So just a thought.
Okay, thank you. I will note that, and we can take a look at that. All right, any other questions on that policy? So the next policy we have is our memorial policy. This is also a new policy, 6450. This policy recognizes the impact of losing a student or a staff member, and it really aims to facilitate the grieving and healing process by still maintaining an environment conducive for learning. This policy prohibits the promotion and sponsorship or support of memorials, but it does outline acceptable and unacceptable forms of honoring deceased individuals. So we have had this in our operations manual, but we have not put it in place in our policy manual, and so that is a new policy. Do we have any questions on memorial policy? All right, our last new policy is our homeschool policy, and this outlines the requirements for parents that are wishing to place their students on homeschool. So we've had procedures in place for many years, but we're now putting these procedures into policy, and we've also aligned this with Utah Code 53G 6204. Parents are required to sign and submit a homeschool affidavit, and they are responsible for any materials for homeschool instruction. Homeschool students still have the opportunity to attend a specific class or participate in extracurricular activities through dual enrollment. So when they fill out the homeschool affidavit, if there's a class or an activity they want to participate, they just list that on their homeschool affidavit, and they can participate in those activities or in class. This form is required, so they're exempt from the attendance rules. Any questions on those policies? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Superintendent?
I don't. I think it would be nice to have a break before our longer
Okay.
meetings get started.
I'd just make a motion we start board meeting at 5:35. I got the crowd.
Hey, save those motions for a minute.
Dang it.
All right, we'll meet everybody back here in a few minutes before 6, so we can get started on regular board meeting. Thank you.
It was pretty quiet when we were looking for a second.
It was. Wait till the meeting and then bring it up.